My name is Adewale, and I am the royal drummer of Ife. Or rather, I was. My hands, once nimble and alive with rhythm, now lie still in my lap. They remember, though. They remember the feel of the stretched hide, the weight of the sticks, the thunder that once roared from my fingertips. But the drum is silent now. The sacred Ile-Ife, the heart of our kingdom, has not spoken in a generation. And it is all my fault. Let me tell you how a boy's foolish pride silenced the very soul of a nation. It began, as these things often do, with a girl. Her name was Moremi, and she was the daughter of the high priest. Her laughter was the melody the river sang. Her eyes held the depth of the night sky. I was young, arrogant, and the most celebrated drummer in the 7 lands. When I played, the earth itself seemed to listen. The elders would nod in approval, the children would dance, and the ancestors, it was said, would smile from the spirit world. My rhythms could make the rains fall and the yams grow fat in the soil. I was the voice of the king, the pulse of Ife, and I believed myself invincible. The Ile-Ife was no ordinary drum. It was carved from a single, ancient Iroko tree, struck by lightning but not consumed. Its skin was from a lion that had offered itself willingly to the first honorer, the first royal drummer. It was said the drum contained the wisdom of all who had come before. It was not played with mere hands, but with the spirit. It was only to be struck on the most sacred of days, or in times of great peril, to summon the protection of the Orishas. The secrets of its rhythm were passed down from father to son, a sacred trust. My father, the Onira before me, had spent his life teaching me its language. He taught me the rhythm of peace, the beat of prosperity, and the cadence of warning. But one rhythm he forbade me to ever learn, the rhythm of awakening. He said it was not for mortal hands, that it could call forth powers we could not control. But I was in love, and a man in love is a fool. Moremi was to be wed, not to me, but to a prince from a neighboring kingdom, a political alliance to ensure peace. The day of her betrothal ceremony arrived, a day of feasting and celebration for everyone but me. My heart was a storm within my chest. I watched her, radiant in her ceremonial beads, her face a mask of duty. I saw the sadness in her eyes, or perhaps I only wished to see it. That night, as the kingdom slept, a reckless fire ignited in my soul. I would show them all. I would show her. I would perform a feat so wondrous, so powerful, that the king would have no choice but to grant me anything I desired. And I desired Moremi. I crept into the sacred grove where the Ile-Ife rested. The moon cast long, skeletal shadows through the trees. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and something older, something ancient. The drum stood on its pedestal, silent and imposing. It seemed to pulse with a life of its own, and for a moment, my father's warnings echoed in my mind. But then I pictured Moremi's face, and all caution fled. My pride was a roaring inferno. I was Adewale, the greatest drummer who ever lived. What power could I not command? I picked up the ceremonial sticks, their surfaces worn smooth by the hands of my ancestors. I took a deep breath, and I began to play. Not the rhythm of peace, not the beat of celebration. I tried to recall the forbidden fragments my father had hummed in his sleep, the notes he had warned me against. I let my grief and my rage guide my hands. I poured my longing for Moremi, my defiance of the king, my arrogant self-belief into the drum. At first, the sound was magnificent. It was a thunder that did not just shake the ground, but the very stars in the sky. The sound rolled through the sleeping city, a wave of raw power. I felt a surge of triumph. Light erupted from the drum, patterns of brilliant color dancing on its skin. The air crackled with energy. I had done it. I was bending the universe to my will. But then, the rhythm began to change. It was no longer my own. The drum had taken over. The beat became frantic, chaotic. The beautiful light twisted into grotesque shapes. A wind howled through the grove, tearing at my clothes. The ground trembled violently. I tried to stop, to pull my hands away, but they were no longer mine to control. The sticks moved of their own accord, beating out a terrifying, ancient language I did not understand. The sound was no longer music, it was a scream. A deep crack appeared on the face of the Ile-Ife, a jagged tear across the lion's skin. With a final, deafening crash that sounded like the world splitting apart, one of the drumsticks shattered in my hand. And then, silence. A silence so profound, so complete, it was more terrifying than the noise that had come before. The wind died. The ground stilled. The light vanished. In the sudden, heavy quiet of the grove, I looked at the drum. The great crack ran across its face like a weeping scar. The sacred skin was torn. The spirit within, the voice of generations, was gone. I stumbled out of the grove as the first light of dawn broke the horizon. The city was in chaos. People were running from their homes, pointing at the sky, which had turned a sickly shade of grey. The birds were silent. The river had stopped flowing. A deep, unnatural stillness had fallen over Ife. The heart of our kingdom had stopped beating, and a creeping dread began to poison the air. The king summoned me. The high priest, Moremi's father, stood beside him, his face a granite mask of sorrow and fury. Moremi was there, too, her eyes wide with a horror that was not for the silent kingdom, but for me. They didn't need to ask. They knew. My arrogance was written all over my face, now replaced by the chilling frost of regret. I had not won her. I had doomed us all. My punishment was not death. It was worse. I was to live, to walk the silent streets of the city I had muted. I was to see the crops wither in the fields because the rhythm of growth was no more. I was to watch the faces of my people grow gaunt and fearful, their laughter and songs replaced by whispers. I was stripped of my title. I was Adiwale, the man who broke the drum, the man who silenced God. And Moremi. She married her prince. It was the only way. Her sacrifice was to forge an alliance that might help our weakened kingdom survive. The last time I saw her, she looked at me not with love or hate, but with a vast, empty pity. That was the cruelest blow of all. So now I sit, an old man in a quiet town. The children do not know the sound of a drum. They do not dance. The stories of the Ionag Boinu are just that, stories. They look at the broken drum in the Royal Museum, a sad, cracked relic, and they cannot imagine the thunder it once held. They cannot imagine the power that a boy's pride and a broken heart unleashed, and then destroyed. My hands are still, but in my dreams, I hear it. I hear the rhythm I was meant to play, the rhythm of healing, of apology, a rhythm of humility. But it is only a dream. The drum is silent, and the silence is my life's long, unending song. They say that one day, a child will be born with the heart of a lion and the hands of a god, one who can heal the broken skin and reawaken the spirit within. I pray for that day. I pray that Ife will hear music again. Until then, I listen to the silence and I remember.